For the past month, I've been testing out Whoop's 5.0 band with the Peak membership to find out whether Whoop is worth all the hype. If you didn't already know, you can get a free trial of Whoop via their website at whoop.com. This is the step I took because I'm not sponsored. Moving on to the review though, and the first thing I noticed was immediately how light the band was, which is great. I don't even notice it at all when it's on my wrist, and it doesn't slide about because it's so easily adjustable, which is brilliant. Once it's set up on your wrist, it immediately starts to begin collecting data, and all that data is then stored in the app. And all of it's really visually appealing. One of the first things you will see in the app is these 3 rings, and those 3 rings are monitoring your sleep, they're monitoring your recovery, and they're also monitoring your daily strain. Those 3 metrics do take a little bit of time to calibrate and get used to your body, but once you are calibrated, they're a really good overview of just your general readiness to train or readiness to attack the day. While these are very good at giving you a general overview on how you are ready to train or ready to do whatever with your day, the issues I had were particularly around the recovery score, which is calculated as a score given your resting heart rate, your heart rate variability, your breathing rate, and your sleep performance. Now the issue here for me was that these are very much physiological based. They don't so much take into account the mental side or the sensory side so much. Although you can complete a journal every day, which does take into account some of these additional measures that might affect your recovery, but more on that journal slightly later. And the second thing around these variables is that Whoop doesn't particularly show great sensitivity, specificity, or validity in measuring these different physiological variables. Now obviously this is compared to a gold standard measurement, but it means that you should take with a pinch of salt the measurements and the metrics that Whoop is giving you through the app. For example, in my own 1-month trial, there's been a couple of days where I've had days of complete rest, and in my own self I felt really recovered. However, I've then gone on the app the next day and it's given me a 40% recovery score just based on my resting heart rate and my heart rate variability changing slightly. The problem here is that Whoop measures your heart rate and your heart rate variability while you are in deep sleep. But Whoop's not actually very good at correctly identifying whether you are in deep sleep or not. So this can throw off those values sometimes. These measurements also aren't going to be as accurate as they could be because Whoop is obviously wrist-based, and your gold standard is more your ECG, and chest strap monitors have also been shown to be a little bit more accurate than wrist-based monitoring systems. Anyway, moving on, and another great thing, and I mentioned it already, is the journal prompt when you log into the app for the first time each day. Now the app can take into account some of your responses when you fill in your journal, and this can affect your recovery. I've noticed a couple of times as I've logged in, I've seen my recovery score, I've then filled in my journal, and the recovery score has changed slightly off the back of that. Now this is really good because you can change and customize the questions that you'll get asked in the journal based on your own lifestyle habits. So some of the stuff that was really important for me was taking multivitamins, have I used a foam roller, have I used a Theragun, what's my caffeine intake being like, relationship stress was another one. So it's really good in that you can really customize and deep dive into your own personal recovery strategies. Daily Outlook is also a really good way of looking at how the day prior has affected what you are capable of for your current day, and also gives you some really nice guidelines of what you should be aiming for in the current day, whether that's a target amount of activity or a target bedtime, based on what your previous stress has been. This is a really great way of being able to balance and optimize your fitness and recovery side by side. And if you're someone who sort of needs that hard and fast coaching, it's a really great way of being able to take control of those things that matter to you. So I mentioned it recommends also what time you should be going to bed. It also introduces this concept of sleep debt in a nice and easy and accessible way. Now, sleep debt is a concept, and it's basically an additional time you need to sleep on a certain night based on whether you've been sleeping enough on previous nights. This is where it's really good, is that if you don't leave enough time for a full night's sleep, or you have a really poor sleep on a particular night, sleep debt is then added to the following night's sleep, but it doesn't add it all straight away, so that you can pay this debt back gradually. It's not going to affect your sleeping pattern too much. And also that sleep debt doesn't accumulate too much, because in the science, sleep debt doesn't accrue infinitely, and your sleep debt can only affect you to a certain degree depending on how much debt you've accumulated. So in essence, your sleep debt does have a ceiling, and it begins to get harder to add to that sleep debt when you consistently sleep for around about the same period of time each night. There's also a nice user-friendly summary of your day so far, which includes how long you slept for and any activities that you've done that day, with accompanying strain based on the heart rate that was recorded during those activities. And then a little bit further below is your own dashboard, which is customizable, so that you can look at the different metrics that you might be interested. So for me, I've got different metrics such as resting heart rate and heart rate variability, but you can also add in stuff like steps, or you can add in time in the different heart rate zones. All depends on what data you've collected and what you're interested in looking at.
Right, change of scenery then, as my mic died while I was giving my conclusion, and I can't really do a review without that, as that would be really ambiguous. So anyway, is it worth it? So Whoop Peak, which is Whoop's most expensive plan, includes health span data, which basically calculates your Whoop age in the app and essentially estimates how your current habits are contributing to your aging. Also, you get live stress monitoring as well. So that is their most expensive plan, and that is at £229 a year, or roughly £20 a month. Now, if those features aren't all that important to you, and it's just your recovery, your sleep, and your strain that you're interested in monitoring and being coached through, then Whoop have Whoop One, which is £169 when billed annually, so roughly about £15 a month. But these are subscription prices, meaning that you pay for these continuously. So once your year is done, you then end up paying again for another year. Now, if you're someone who values these types of insights and responds really well to a really accessible and coachable way of improving your recovery, your sleep, then absolutely this could be worth it for you. But if you're someone like me who day to day is quite good at understanding their body and quite good at adapting to changes in training stress, life stress, and poor sleep, then it's quite hard to justify that ongoing cost when you can get wearables such as Garmin or Coros for a one-off purchase price, and they give you all that data anyway, just in a less coachable way. Now, it's worth saying that the wearables such as Garmin and Coros do give you that data in a much less visually appealing and less coachable way. But if you are, like I say, good at understanding your own body, then potentially that is the route that you should maybe look down. Now, even though I'm saying that for me personally, it might not be worth it, don't get me wrong, it is a really good app and is really good at encouraging you to start healthier habits and keep a track of those. But at £15 to £20 a month, when the alternative is to potentially just help yourself understand your body a little bit, rather than have these ongoing purchases, it seems to me like a little bit of a no-brainer. And if you add in the fact that something like a Garmin or a Coros has GPS capabilities as well, if money's tight for you, then those are going to be your go-to options because of the massive versatility that these wearables have. For me, where Whoop would be really good is if you're someone who's really looking to fine-tune everything that you're doing with your training, or potentially if you're someone who's new to training and you want to understand your body that little bit better and get that coaching, then it's great. But long term, I think your better option would be to understand your own body that little bit better, so that you're not continuously paying these subscription prices. But take nothing away from Whoop. I've really enjoyed having the free month, and it's definitely given me some food for thought around my current habits and what I need to optimize myself. And I'd encourage anyone who's watching to have a go at that free trial as well and see what you might find out.